Hey, what's up? Do you know that you can actually host a local version of MongoDB on your PC? MongoDB is a popular option for database when it comes to non-relational database. And the interesting thing is you can absolutely host it locally on your PC. You don't always have to connect to a remote database, for example, the MongoDB Atlas during development, especially if you are not having a very good internet connection or you just want to run things locally on your PC, okay? Hosting your DB on your PC for development, it will greatly improve your development speed because you don't always have to wait for transmitting data over the internet. Alright, so here's a simple example that I made. I have a simple registration form here, okay? And I'm handling the form submission using a Nest.js server action, right? So here's the server action. The data will be gotten through this form data parameter, okay? And then at this point, I validated the data using Zod. All right, so this is where I established the connection to my database. I will show you that in a minute. I handled that inside of this mongodb.ts file. All right, and then this is where the data is being inserted into the database. Okay, so inside of this file, this is where I handled the connection to the database. All right, so the way I set it up, whenever I'm in development environment, whenever I'm coding, the local database will be used. This is the URL for the local database. And peradventure, if I deploy the application on a server, okay, so this URL will be used. All right, so this URL is going to be the URL for your remote database, the one that you are hosting on MongoDB Atlas, okay? So on development, the local database will be used. This is the URL, and in production, the remote URL will be used. So this is just what is connecting my app now to the local database. All right. It's actually very simple to set up, okay? And then, so all this is for setting up the connection to the database, all right? So I'm going to test this now, okay? So let's say we want to, before I input any data, this is the database. It is currently empty, all right? This is MongoDB Compass, a graphical user interface that you can use to see the data on your local DB, all right? So you can see now that we're having a 0 entry in our database, okay? So I'm going to create an entry now. All right. So if I register, okay, you can see registration successful. If we go now to our database, if I refresh it, so you can see now that we have an entry in our database. Let me make another entry. Let's say my name is John. And for example, let's say my email is john@example.com. All right. So I'm going to enter that. Okay. So you can see registration successful. We go back to our DB. If I refresh this, you can see now that we have another entry in our database. Okay, so this MongoDB Compass is an app that you can use to look at the data that you have in your database, and you can actually query your database. For example, I want to get all my data, so I'm just going to pass an empty object. Okay, so that's going to get all the data in the database. Let's say I want only the entry that has John as the name. All right, so I'm going to come here, I'm going to say name, and the name is going to be John. All right. So if I search for this now, it's going to give me only the entry that has John as the name. All right. So you can write a standard MongoDB query here. Okay. And then you are going to have the data that satisfies that query. All right. So how can you set up a local version of MongoDB on your PC? To set it up is actually very simple. Just you can go to your favorite search engine and search for MongoDB server download. All right. So if you search for this, you're going to have this link. If you click on the link, it's going to direct you to this page, okay? So this is where you can download a MongoDB server app, all right? So you select your operating system. I'm using Windows, that's why I have Windows 64-bit version automatically selected for me, okay? And then you click on download. I'm currently not connected to the internet because I don't actually need it at this point because I'm using a local database. But now to download this, I'm going to connect to the internet. All right. And let me turn off my flight mode. Okay. So this is going to connect to the internet in a minute. Now I'm connected to the internet. Okay. So you are going to click on this. Then that is going to download the MongoDB server app for you. All right. I don't need to download it again. I already have it installed. When you are doing your own, just wait for the app to download. All right. And then the next thing you are going to download after downloading the MongoDB server is the MongoDB Compass, this app that you can use to look at the data you have in your local database. This MongoDB Compass is actually not compulsory for you to use a local MongoDB server with your application, all right? But for you to be able to see it graphically, you can download it if you so wish. Okay, so to download this MongoDB Compass, you come to Tools. Okay, so on Tools, you select MongoDB Compass. Okay, after selecting that, you wait for the page to load. All right, so after selecting that, you are going to select your operating system. I believe it will be automatically selected for you. If you want to download it as zip, you download it as that, but you can select this, so you just download the app directly. Okay, so after download, if you click on that, you're going to have the app downloaded for you. I already have it installed also, so I don't need to download again. All right, so after downloading, you install both of them. The installation procedure is actually straightforward. Okay, so you install them. I advise that you first install the MongoDB server. So during installation of the MongoDB server, you are going to get to a point that it is going to ask you that, do you want to install MongoDB Compass alongside? You should uncheck that point if you've already downloaded the MongoDB Compass app, because if you don't uncheck it, it's going to download another MongoDB Compass afresh. All right, so you should uncheck it. But if you didn't download the MongoDB Compass app, you can leave it checked. So during the installation of the MongoDB server, it's going to download MongoDB Compass alongside. All right, the installation is actually straightforward. So leave all the options as they were. At the point where it is asking you to install MongoDB as a service, just leave everything as they were. Run service as network service user. If you select run service as a local or domain user, you will have to be manually starting your MongoDB server. But if you leave it at run service as network service user, anytime you are just setting up your app, you don't have to manually be starting your MongoDB local server. All right, so that's that about that. And after installing both the MongoDB server and the MongoDB Compass, I'm going to disconnect this now so that I can show you how it will look like afresh. So when you open your app afresh, you are going to see something like add new connection. You click on add new connection, leave everything as they were. This is going to be your connection string. All right, you can actually copy this because you are going to need it in your app. All right, so you don't have to make any changes here, then you connect. Okay, so that is going to establish a connection to your database. If the connection is not successful, or possibly when you are installing, you selected install as a local or domain user, so you may have to manually start your MongoDB local server. To start it, just go to your PC and search for services. So you search for services. All right, if you selected installing it as a network service user, you don't have to always do this, but just in case the connection was not established successfully, that means the server is not running, and then you have to start it manually. All right, so you are going to have your services pane open for you. All right, and the next thing you should do is you should look for MongoDB. Okay, so you scroll down to MongoDB. MongoDB, it should be in M. All right, so you have your MongoDB server. Okay, so if it is not running, you right click on it and then you start it. If it is not running, you are going to have this start option. All right, but because it is running, so that's why the start option is grayed out. Okay, so you start your MongoDB server. After it's running, then you can now establish a connection to your database. Okay, so you are going to have this 3 database as the default database. All right, and then you can create a new database by right clicking on this, or you click on this positive symbol on this localhost. So after clicking on that, you enter the name of your database and the name of the collection that you want to have in your database. Okay, so you create your database. All right, and then your connection string, you can as well copy it here. Okay, so you can copy your connection string here. Okay, so that is the connection string that you are going to use in your app. All right, so you paste your connection string wherever you need your connection string. Okay, but one thing that you need to adjust in this connection string is that if you leave this localhost, your connection might not be successful. So you need to change this localhost to 0.0.0.0. All right, so with this now you are set up. Okay, if I save this now and let me refresh my app so I can create an additional entry now. Let's say I want to enter Alice. Okay, Alice. All right, let's say the email for Alice is this. I can just select this. Okay, so if I click on register now, you can see registration successful. Now if I go back to my to my database. Okay, this is users database. Now you can see we have another entry in our database. It's as simple as this. All right, that's all you need to do to set up a local version of MongoDB on your PC. I hope the video actually helps. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.